Introduction. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Having two dads offer me the choice of contrasting point of view, one of a rich man and one of a poor man. I had two fathers, a rich one and a poor one. One was highly educated and intelligent. He had a PhD and completed 4 years of undergraduate work in less than 2 years. He then went on to Stanford University, the University of Chicago, and Northwestern University to do his advanced studies, all on full financial scholarship. The other father never finished the 8th grade. Both men were successful in their career, working hard all their lives. Both earned substantial incomes. Yet one always struggled financially, the other would become one of the richest men in the Hawaii. One died leaving tens of millions of dollars to his family's charities and his church. The other left bill to be paid. Both men were strong, charismatic, and influential. Both men offered me advice, but they did not advise the same thing. Both men believed strongly in education, but did not recommend the same course of study. If I had only one dad, I would have had to accept or reject his advice. Having two dads offered me the choice of contrasting points of view, one of a rich man and one of a poor man. Instead of simply accepting or rejecting one or the other, I found myself thinking more, comparing, and then choosing for myself. The problem was that the rich man was not rich yet and the poor man was not poor yet. Both were just starting out on their careers and both were struggling with money and the families, but they had very different point of views about money. For example, one dad would say the love of the money is the root of all evil. The other said the lack of the money is the root of the all evil. As a young boy having two strong father both influencing me was difficult. I wanted to be a good man, son and listen. But the two fathers did not say the same thing. The contrast in their point of view, particularly about money, was so extreme that I grew curious and intrigued. I began to start thinking for long periods of time about what each was saying. Much of my private time was spent reflecting, asking myself questions such as why does he say that? And then asking the same question of the other stat statement. It would have been much easier to simply say, yeah, he's right. I agree with that, or to simply reject the point of view by saying the old man does not know that he's talking about. Instead, having two dads whom I loved forced me to think and ultimately choose a way of thinking for myself. As a process, choosing for myself turned out to be much more valuable in the long run than simply accepting or rejecting a single point of view. One of the reasons the richer get richer, the poor get poor, and the middle class struggle in debt is that the subject of money is taught at home, not in school. Most of us learn about the money from our parents. So, what can poor parents tell their children about money? They simply say, stay in the school and study hard. The child may graduate with excellent grades but with a poor personal financial programming and mindset. Sadly, money is not taught in the school. School focus on scholarship and professional skill, but not on financial skill. This explains how smart bankers, doctor, and accountant who earn excellent grade may struggle financially all of their life. Our staggering national debt is due in large part to highly educated politicians and government officially making financial decisions with little or no training in the subject of money. Today, I often wonder what will soon happen when we have millions of people who need financial and medical assistance. They will be dependent upon their family or the government for financial supports. What will happen when medical and social security run out of money? How will a nation survive if teaching children about money continue to be left to parents, most of whom will be or already are poor? Because I had two influential father, I learned from both of them. I had to think about each that advice, and in doing so, I gained valuable insight into power and effect of one's thoughts on one's life. For example, one dad had a habit of saying, I can't afford it. The other dad forbade those words to be used. He insisted. I asked, how can I afford it? One is statement, other is a question. One let you off the hook and the other force you to think. My soon to be rich dad would explain that by automatically saying the word I can afford it, your brain stops working. By asking the question, how can I afford it? Your brain is to put to work. He did not mean that you should buy everything you want. He was fanatical about exercising your mind, the most powerful computer in the world. He said, my brain gets stronger every day because I exercise it. The stronger it gets, the more money I can make. He believed that automatically saying I can't afford it was a sign of mental laziness. Although both dads worked hard, I noticed that one dad had a habit of putting his brain to sleep when it came to finance, and the other had a habit of exercising his brain. The long term result was that one dad grew stronger financially and the other grew weaker. It is not much different from a person who goes to the gym to exercise on a regular basis versus someone who sits on the couch watching television. Proper physical exercise increases your chance for health, and proper mental exercise increases your chance for wealth. My two dads had opposing attitude, and that affected the way they thought. One dad thought that the rich should pay more in taxes to take care of those less fortunate. The other said taxes punish those who produce and reward those who don't produce. One dad recommended study hard so you can find a good company to work for. The other recommended study hard so you can find a good company to buy. One dad said, the reason I am not rich is because I have you kids. The other said, the reason I must be rich is because I have you kids. One encouraged talking about money and business at the dinner table while the other forbade the subject of money to be discussed over a meal. One said, when it comes to money, play it safe, don't take risk. The other said, learn to manage risk. One believed our home is our largest investment and our greatest asset. The other believed my house is liability, and if your house is your largest investment, you are in trouble. Both dad paid their bill on time, yet one paid his bill first while the other paid his bill last. One dad believed in a company or the government taking care of you and your need. He was always concerned about you, about pay raises, retirement plans, medical benefits, sick leave, vacation day, and other perks. He was impressed with two of his uncle who joined the military and earned a retirement and entitlement package for life after 20 years of active service. He loved the idea of medical benefit and PX privilege the military provided its retirees. He also loved the tenure system available through the university. The idea of the job protection for life and job benefit seemed more important at times than the jobs. He would often say, I worked hard for the government and I am entitled to those benefits. The other believed in total financial self-reliance. He spoke out against the entitlement mentality and how it created weak and financially needy people. He was empathetic about being financially competent. One dad struggled to save a few dollars, the other created investment. One dad taught me how to write an impressive resume so I could find a good job. The other taught me how to write strong business and financial plans so I could create jobs. Being a product of two strong dads allowed me the luxury of the observing the effect different thought having on one's life. I noticed that people really to do shape their lives through their thoughts. For example, my poor dad always said, I'll never be rich, and that prophecy became reality. My rich dad, on the other hand, always referred to himself as rich. He would say things like this, I am a rich man, and rich people don't do this. Even when he was float broke after a major financial setback, he continued to refer to himself as a rich man. He would cover himself by saying, there is a difference between being poor and being broke. Broke is temporary, but poor is eternal. My poor dad would say, I am not interested in money or money does not matter. My rich dad said, money is power. The power of our thought may never be measured or appreciated, but it became obvious to me as a young boy that it was important to be aware of thoughts and how I express myself. I noticed that my poor dad was poor not because of amount of money he earns, which was significant, but because of his thought and action. As a young boy having two fathers, I became acutely aware of being carefully about which thought I choose to adopt as my own. Should I listen to my rich dad or to my poor dad? Although both men had tremendous respect for education and learning, They disagree about what they thought was important to learn. One wanted to study hard, earn a degree, and get a job to earn money. He wanted me to study to become a professional, an attorney, an accountant, and to go to business school for my MBA. The other encouraged me to study to be rich, to understand how money works, and learn how to have it work for me. I don't work for money were words he would repeat over and over. Money works for me. At the age of 9, I decided to listen and learn from my rich dad about money. In doing so, I chose not to listen to my poor dad, even though he was one with all the college degree. A lesson from Robert Frost. Robert Frost is my favorite poet, although I love many of his poems. My favorite is The Road Not Taken. I use its lesson almost daily. The Road Not Taken. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel with both. And be one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as could to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted fear, thought as for that the passing there had found them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way. I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere edges and edges hands. Two road diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And that has made all the difference over the years. I have often reflected upon Robert Frost's poem over the year. I have often reflected upon Robert Frost's poem, choosing not to listen to my highly educated advice and attitude. About money was a painful decision, but it was a decision that shaped the rest of my life. Once I made up my mind about whom to listen, my education about money began. My rich dad taught me over a period of 30 years until I was 39 years old. He stopped once he realizing that I knew and fully understand what he had been trying to turn into my often thick skull. Money is one form of power, but what is more powerful is financial education. Money comes and go, but if you have the education about how money works, you gain power over it and it can begin building wealth. The reason positive thinking alone does not work is busy because most people went to school and never learned how money works, so they spend their lives working for money. Because I was only 9 years old when I started, the lesson my rich dad taught me was simple, and when it was all said and done, there were only 6 main lessons repeated over 30 years. This book is about those 6 lessons put as simply as possible, just as simply as my rich dad put forth those lessons for me. The lessons are meant not to be answered, but guideposts that will assist you and your children to grow wealthier no matter what happens in a world of increasing change of uncertainty.